Vaughn from SOW Outdoors here. Today we are going to be making venison jerky two different ways. Personal favorite of mine, and then a new one that we're going to try. So to start us off, these are the ingredients that we're going to be utilizing for our venison jerky. We're going to marinate each of the cuts overnight. Starting off is the Allegro Hot and Spicy. You can find this at Walmart. It's about $3 a bottle, and a bottle will usually do about a pound of cuts, maybe more, maybe a pound and a half. The next version we're going to do is a Texas favorite here. This is going to be jalapenos and Dr. Pepper. We're going to saute down the jalapenos to get the heat out of them, and we're going to mix in the Dr. Pepper in order to give it a sweet flavor. So it'll be a sweet heat style jerky. Again, we're going to marinate the cuts for both versions here for about 24 hours before we put them on the dehydrator. Or I may actually try a batch on our new electric smoker here. I haven't even read the instruction manual on it, so that may or may not happen. But I'm going to be prepping this stuff while the game comes on, and we'll get them all set up and put in the fridge for overnight marinating. And then hopefully tomorrow I'll have time to put them on the dehydrator grates. Alright, so we're going to chop up about 2.5 to 3 of these peppers. Just slice them. Again, we're going to be boiling this in the jalapeno, or in the Dr. Pepper. But I like it a little on the spicy side, so I'm actually going to use extra jalapenos than what the recipe I did see calls for. So I am just going to chop these up real quick. And then we're going to pour our Dr. Pepper into a measuring cup. And then mix all the ingredients and boil. And then once it cools down, I can add the venison that's in the process of finishing out thawing at the moment here. So let me just quickly chop these up. And I'm actually going to put a couple of these inside the dehydrator with it to get some of that extra jalapeno flavor. But essentially what we're looking at here is about 3 large jalapenos chopped up. We've got 2 tablespoons of coarse salt, 2 teaspoons black pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder. And we're going to be putting all these ingredients in about 2 cups of Dr. Pepper. Alright, so we're adding the Dr. Pepper in, and then we're going to add in the jalapenos. Alright, so jalapenos are in the Dr. Pepper. Let's add our salt, 2 tablespoons. Let's add our black pepper, 2 teaspoons. Let's add our 1 teaspoon of garlic. And let's add our onion powder, 1 teaspoon as well. I'm going to stir this up, and then I'm going to boil it. Alright, so now get that going, and I can start to boil this until it starts to smell very, very spicy. And then we're going to let it cool before putting our meat in there. So we're starting to get this to simmer. We want this to simmer for about 10-15 minutes. We're trying to reduce our marinade by about half. At which point I'm going to take out some of the jalapenos and let the liquid cool so that we can put it in a bag with the venison meat. So I'm going to set a timer here for, let's say 12 minutes. Now we got a nice simmer going here. We want to keep it at about this simmer for, I don't know, probably 8-9 minutes more, just to let it reduce. At which point I'm going to take it off the heat in order to allow it to cool. But the purpose of heating any pepper is it releases the capsaicin, which is the spicy flavor. And as you can see, we're coming to a boil right now, so we're just going to maintain this boil for a little bit longer. Okay, our timer just finished. I'm going to go ahead and take this off of heat and let this start to cool. That needs to cool way down before you put any meat in there, otherwise it would start to cook the meat. But what Jade and I are doing out here is setting up to trim down our venison. So here is our venison jerky cuts, and we're going to actually trim it down, trim some of the fat off of it, and get to the right size for the jerky that we want. I'm going to be dividing it into 2 different bags. So I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to set the meat out on it. That just gives me additional workspace out here. And here are our cuts. So we're actually going to trim this down. This would make a really, really big piece of jerky. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this probably in half and start making a little pile. And once I have enough for each bag, I'm probably going to divide this bag in half. But see, like, this is a big cut, and these are just cutlets that I had tenderized. But what we really want to focus on is trimming any of the fat.
That's a really sharp knife.
It is a very sharp knife. Any fat will make... Scoot that camera back just a hair. More. That's good right there. That's good. Okay, so any fat will make your jerky turn even faster, meaning it will go bad faster. And so we want to get strips.
Okay.
I like them into strips, like hunter strips type of deal. Sometimes I'll even cut these down further. Any of the real wide flat ones are good, but you want to make sure, like this, you want to trim all this fat off of here. So what I like to do there...
Can we see that too?
Hang on. So what I like to do here is just come through and get all this silver skin off. And, you know, I don't mind having a little bit of extra waste, so to speak. But like anything like this where it's real peely silver skin, that's got to come off. It'll just make your jerky taste kind of rancid. So I don't do any curing salts when I make jerky. I just dehydrate it once it's been marinated extensively, and the reason for that is I think it makes it too salty. So we're gonna trim these down some, making sure to get all the fat off that we can, and making sure we have good cuts, good sized pieces. Some of these are real big. Also, it doesn't hurt if it's slightly frozen. It actually cuts easier with a sharp knife. I've never had problems with that. It's going to be thawing as it marinates in the refrigerator anyway. So,
And this is what it looks like after.
Get all this silver skin off here.
Oh, okay. Hey, you want me to get you a bag so all the silver skin go away?
Yeah, I'm just going to clean it
I
off.
can make it
I'm just going to clean it off the cutting board when I'm done.
Okay.
But so some of these are good size right here.
Ugh.
And again, you can expect more than a 50% reduction in size. So real thick cuts actually take longer to dehydrate. That's why doing the strips is actually pretty easy, because it it will dehydrate on all sides. It'll be better on all sides. One thing I'm kind of looking into right now is using my electric smoker to do this batch. I've never done that before. It would add a nice smoke flavor. So we might try that. But again, these need to marinate overnight before we do anything. Like, look at that piece. That needs to be cut down significantly. So this is what you do when the Super Bowl is on and you don't really care about either team. It's also what you do on a Sunday while you're killing time. I'm going to cut these down.
Tomorrow we're going to be at home, so I'll be shooting the BB gun.
So this venison that we're working with here was a deer I shot just after Christmas. It was a doe, and I had it butchered for me. I did not process this one myself. I do most of the time, but because of timing and all these stuff we had going on, both with family and work, I didn't really have a lot of time on my hands to actually sit and butcher everything. But so we are trimming these down. Don't be scared to make some bigger than others. So here we have both bagged up and marinating. These will sit overnight, and after work tomorrow I will work on dehydrating these. And then I was able to fish out my jalapenos. I'm going to dehydrate those as well. They should be pretty sweet snacks. They're probably not going to be that spicy because of the Dr. Pepper. But anyway, we're going to marinate these for over 24 hours and throw them on the dehydrating racks tomorrow. Okay, so Kate and I fired up the electric smoker. We decided to do it afterwards, but let me show you what we're working with here. This is our electric smoker.
Yep. Let me get a close-up.
So we have our jerky in there, and there's a couple that are hanging down. I'll fix those in just a minute. But we do have some mesquite wood pellets in there. I guess not pellets, but bark. So we're going to get some mesquite smoke flavor. We're targeting a set point of 160 degrees, and we're going to do this for about 3.5 to 4 hours, and about every hour or so rotating them. So right now we're just kind of dripping off some of the extra. Batteries are dead. So
I charged it yesterday.
You can see in the back here I've got some jalapenos that were left over from the marinade that I'm going to dehydrate to make little chips out of. I think they'll be pretty tasty. Here is our jerky laid out in strips. And I was worried that some of it was going to fall through the grates, but luckily I was able to bridge most of those gaps. This one right here I need to fix, but I'll do that in just a minute. Otherwise it's just going to make a mess. So
yeah, I've learned that some food, it does fall off grates, like french fries.
Yep.
They do fall off.
Okay, so we'll keep you updated. We'll rotate the racks here in about an hour and a half. Alright, so we've had these in here for almost an hour and a half, and I'm going to rotate the trays. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to switch these around very gently now. This is actually a lot harder to do one-handed. So what I did here was I set that rack on top of where this one would go. And now I'm going to pick this one up and go down. Okay, so basically I swapped racks 3 and rack 2. Actually, let me do this. Swap this one to the top here. Put this one right here. Okay, so now we switch those. We are going to shut this
And
and continue on cooking. Alright, so we got like 40 minutes left on our timer. I'm going to move around the racks like one last time. And we should be done here shortly. Let me just open the smoker. So I never used this smoker before. It was a Christmas gift. And one thing I can say is it holds a temperature set point very, very well. It will oscillate between, slowly oscillate I should say, between plus or minus 3 degrees of the set point. And our jerky is looking extremely good. So I'm gonna finish this off 30-40 minutes more. Actually, let me move this one down. And this is hard to do with oven mitts on. Gotta take the oven mitts off. Anyway, so yeah, total cook time that I have this planned for is 4 hours. And if it needs a little bit longer, no big deal. But we are, let's see here. It says 38 minutes remaining. And temperature's climbing back up after holding the door open for a minute. So we are 37 minutes, 56 seconds. And I anticipate we'll be pretty close to that. There's a couple that are soft, the rest are getting pretty crispy, and they'll be nice and crispy probably about half hour. So I'm gonna check these again in probably 20 minutes and then finish up. I'm gonna take them out, put them on a cookie sheet, let them cool off for about probably 15 or 20 minutes to cool off, and then I will vacuum seal them into packages with my food saver. Anyway, I'll keep you posted. Alright, so it's been close to 5 hours. Woo! A lot of smoke. A lot of smoke. Alright, so we have these finished products, and now we're going to let it cool and then put it into vacuum seal bags. So here we are. This is the food saver bag, and we're going to probably break it up into small sections and go from there.